Good afternoon. I'm in the top shed today and I'm fitting a track corrected rear axle to a Landcruiser 79 series. As you can clearly see, it's a DWiz one. I'm at roughly the halfway point now, so the axle's mounted onto the springs and the instructions are very good. If you're working on your own, I strongly suggest that you take the discs off when you do this, because this makes hanging these up here a lot easier, a lot lighter to lift off and move and work around. I did the axle on the floor, with the car on the floor, and I used a couple of wheelie trolleys like these here, and I moved the axle around on them to help me get this in, off and back in again, the old one off and the old one and the new one back in. So you can see this one's held up with cable ties up there out of the way. So I also fitted some greaseable shackles while I was at it. So that's the front one and this is the back one. So now if you're doing this, the bolt at the top on this side, I had to bend the rib of the fuel tank down to get a spanner in to get the nut undone. This is also like a 50mm extension. So. And if you've got a 3-inch exhaust, I had to let the exhaust go so I could lift the exhaust up enough to get the shackle out, the old shackle out and the new shackle in. So that's something to be mindful of. Also, I did have like these luggage boxes on the outside here, and because I had to lift this up and I couldn't get to these bolts on the top, I took the luggage boxes off. So it turned into a bit of a job, but it's now coming along quite well. Something else I also found on the prop shaft, tail shaft, whatever you want to call it, the drive shaft here, when I came to disconnect it from the diff, I found it very difficult to get it apart. I couldn't force it forward. So after some investigation, I took this grease nipple out at the front, the one that's on the front here, this one here. I took it out and grease jettisoned out. So when I've been greasing this up, no grease has been coming out, and it must be sealed inside here because it was forcing the two shafts apart. So there was a fair amount of load on this when I took it out. So when I let the grease nipple out, all the grease shot out. So just be mindful of that when you're greasing these, right, that you take into account, right, no grease is coming out. So I'm going to take this off and then I'm going to free up inside here and check out what's going on. Just something. So this is, yeah, everything's held up out of the way with cable ties. This won't fit anymore because that's moved from the top and the centre now over to there, so I've got to make a new one of them up. But apart from that, it's relatively straightforward. I haven't had to bleed the brakes, and there's enough flex in these lines here to allow the hubs to move out. And yeah, they give you a handbrake extension because obviously it's moved out 25mm on either side. These are torqued up to between 100 and 125 foot-pounds, and they have to be retorqued after 100 kilometers. That's why I've done mine to 100. Well, it says 100 to 125. I've done mine at 125 because it's highly unlikely that I'll forget to come and do them after 100 k's, which is what the recommendation is. Because I've also done the shackles, I found that my shock absorbers were leaking, so I'm now waiting for some new shock absorbers to arrive, which go up here. So I'm waiting for them to arrive. But apart from that, it's relatively straightforward. This is quite heavy, so it is best if there's two of you, it's easy, but if you're working on your own, yeah, work at grade level and then just use those moving trolleys to move the axle around under the car. So I'm going to, and the centre diff, right, wow, is that heavy. So yeah, very heavy. When they say in the instructions that it's heavy, they are not kidding. It is very heavy, especially if it's got this diff locker on it, which mine has. So I'm going to put this back in at grade level. There's my discs that I took off. There's like 8 kilos in each of those, so it just make it easier if you take them off. And one of the hub seals have gone at the end of this here, but they give you new hub seals to go in. So yeah, that's what I've been up to this weekend. Hopefully this is of some use to people who do it on their own or are doing it in looking to do it. It is a relatively straightforward job. One of the hardest jobs I found was getting the cable connectors apart. They were really stuck in place. So yeah, I'm going to clean those up and put a little bit of grease on. I'm going to put them back in again. But that's today's efforts. I've got to play around with this as well, figure out a better way to make that work because it leaks. Alright. Anybody's got any questions or wants anything else explaining, please let me know and I'll let you know if I can. There you go. Have a nice weekend. Thanks to all subscribers and comments and the viewers and everything else of all my other videos. So thank you very much indeed. Oh, I've got to grind these off after. You don't leave them hanging obviously like that. Alright, bye for now.